Mba, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. Yeah.
Great. It's great to, have you on this radio show. I remember my days at the FRCN, I think some years ago, I used to read, Emeka Mba,
Okay.
you came on the news a couple of times as well. Good to have you. Let's get into the conversation in just a
Yeah.
moment. By the way, how are you faring? How has the COVID-19 affected you as a person?
Well, like everyone else, it slowed things down a bit. But I think the most important thing is that we are well, we are safe, and we're doing all the best we can to heed to all the expert advice about keeping safe. So yeah.
Fantastic. So we get into the conversation in full effect, Lagos. You remember, you can be a part of the broadcast if you'd like to call or send a message or even tweet at us. Well, for phone calls, it's 0700 993 993 993. 0700 993 993 993. That's 993 in 3 places, all right? And you could also send a WhatsApp message. If you have a question or comment on the matter, you could call or send a WhatsApp message to 0809 597 5805. 0809 597 5805. How about you tweet at us at Nigeria Info FM? At Nigeria Info FM. The hashtag is WhatsApp Lagos, and that's what the show is called. And you could also just listen to us live on our website or download the Nigeria Info FM app. It's quite an amazing app. The interface is amazing. So look for N and I on your Google Play Store or Apple App Store. That way you can download the app and also have us with you wherever you go in the world. That sounds great even to me. So we'll be back into the conversation with Emeka Mba right after this short commercial break. This is What's Up Lagos. Welcome on board.
This is What's Up Lagos with Collins, Teke. Let's talk.
Yes, indeed. Let's talk. Welcome back. It's What's Up Lagos, and my name is Collins. Teke. Well, on Wednesday last week, which was the 12th of August, the 2020, the Lagos State Film and Video Censors Board, that's the NFVCB, announced a 1-month ultimatum for content producers to duly register their contents with the body. Now, this was announced by the Executive Secretary of the Board, that's Bamidele Balogun, while he was unveiling the platform developed by Performing Musicians Employers Association, that's PMAN, and L'Afrique Pro Media, which is meant to track and generate revenue for entertainers in the country. Now, to him, audio and visual contents of entertainers are, produced and sold within the state shall attract the payment of 5% levy on each item. To him, this new levy on entertainers' content will assist the Lagos state government in policy formulation with regards to the planning and funding for the sector. Well, however, while PMAN has rejected, by the way, the new 5% tax introduced by the Lagos state government, the executive director of the National Film and Video Censors Board, Adedayo Thomas, which is a federal government agency, by the way, has described the Lagos state government's move as a joke and a sign of idleness. Well, based on this foregoing, we would like to look on the show today, or let's say we'll be interfacing with Emeka Mba, a former DG of the National Film Video Censors Board, NFVCB, and a former Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission. Well, once again, welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Thank you, Collins.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
just
good
to
be on the show.
Fantastic. So what's your take on the intended levy by the Lagos state government? I mean, on audio and visual content creators. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that, it's one of those things, is one of those kind of regulations that regulatory agencies of government often come out with, that it's not, it's not well thought out. That's one. Secondly, the motive is clearly a revenue generation motive. It is not, it's not directed at the improvement of the industry, as this gentleman claimed, because you can tell when something is not well thought out. It lacks definition. For example, any good regulation, its first rule of how you know whether it's good or not is that it's specific and it's clear in its intent. And it's also very well defined. As I'll give you an example. What is content? Did it define what content? What types of content do you levy? Is it going to be filmed entertainment works, movies? Is it going to be TV shows? Is it going to be Instagram skits? Is it going to be radio shows? The whole world is a world of content. My son on his phone and his friends doing a video, creating, skits. Is he going to levy that as well if they put it on their Instagram page? Or people doing, selling stuff on Instagram? That's content as well. So is he going to levy that? If the content is created in Nigeria but not consumed in Nigeria, is he going to levy that? It's content that's created outside of Nigeria but comes into Nigeria, is it going to be levied? So the whole thing is just, as I said, clearly was meant to, because there's this notion that there's a lot of activity within the space of young people creating content, in quote. And therefore, a lot of people often think that, they see people like Lasisi Elenu, they see people like, Basket Mouth, they see all of these great entertainers and content creators, and they often think that, there must be money there. And there's that danger, or that, shall I say, not even danger, but that thirst by agencies. And I've been in that position where you're sitting you're not well resourced as a government agency. I mean, and then you see the management meetings and talks as, how are we going to make money? How do we improve our own bottom line? But the reality is that if the bottom line of the industry that you regulate improves, you also improve. I mean, so the first thing is make sure that industry grows, and then you can grow with the industry. That is the first rule.
All right. So do you think that the creative industry needs any kind of regulation, the creative space? And what kind of regulation do you think it would need? First of all, there are two questions. Do you think that it's need for regulation, and what kind would it be?
I think there's a danger when people start talking about regulating the creative sector. And for me, the again, this is where definition comes in. I think what is best to regulate is not the creation of content. Okay, forget it. You in any case, you can't even legislate or effectively regulate the creation of content. It's like breathing. People will, we live in an age of content. We live in the age of sharing. We live in an age that is ubiquitous content is being created day in, day out.
That's right.
So it's impossible. Let's just realize that, except you want to lock down how people, where you buy your phone, whether your phone has a camera and all of those things. It's near impossible. Let me not say impossible, but it's near impossible to regulate content, the creation of content. However, you can regulate the distribution of content with regards to, you have to define whether that content has a potential to cause harm. You understand? Especially with regards to young, vulnerable people. Yeah. And this is with regards to the formalized distribution outlets. Okay. That's where I think that you can have some aspects of regulation in good faith that's well defined for the protection of vulnerable members of our society. And, content that is not put out there that will, as I said, likely to cause harm. But it has to be well defined. And you can only do that when you have the definition and when that content, and there's this thing in regulatory policy, we say, it's a bit technical, we say something is ex ante, ex post. What it essentially means is that in a digital world, which is where we are now, it is best to regulate content in an ex post manner. That is when something has happened. Then you could do generally is ex ante to say such materials are likely to lead to social harm. We abhor them. But you do not go to the extent of applying, like we see in some of the new regulations that it won't work, and it is likely to just cause more harm than good. But there's a certain measure of regulation that you can apply with regards to materials or distribution of content within a formal entity. I think that these are some of that's my own view at this point.
All right, good. I want us to go into what you think the creative industry needs right now. And but I have one more follow-up question concerning the last one before I get to hear your take on what you think the creative industry needs right now. And before I even take the two questions, as I said, I'd like to bring the listener up to speed. When we talk about the creative industry, what comes to the mind? Everybody's music, and what do you call it? Film and all you have. But it's quite large. That's why I say we need to pay attention to this industry. It includes the advertising, architecture, arts and antiques market, craft, design, fashion, video, film, which we're talking about today, photography, interactive games, music, performance act, publishing and printing, computer service and software as part of the creative industry. Also television and radio, of course, part of the creative R&D, culinary. That's just give a broad sense of it. So if you play in any of these spaces, you should be worried about what happens in the creative industry, because the truth is most Nigerians are relying on some of these arms of the sector to survive. So if things are not favorable, what happens to them, especially these trying times? Let me come to a question. While you were DG of the National Film Video Censors Board, how would you have handled this action by the Lagos State government, a film video censor board? How would you have handled this action?
I think that it requires engagement. When I was a DG, we even had an MOU signed with the Lagos State government.
Okay.
Between the federal agency, which I headed at that point in time, and the Lagos State government.
Yeah.
I think Senator Afikiomi was then the commissioner. You need this kind of collaboration, because the issue of censorship is on the concurrent list. So you have it on the federal, you also have it on the state level. So you do require some level of engagement. Yeah. And I think that some of these things are vestiges of our past, how the constitution was set up. We operated largely under military, and so you had this very unitary system. But having said that, we are where we are now. Where we are requires engagement, and I think that Lagos State is part of the country. The way that the creative industry works takes inputs from all across the sector. Even though Lagos is the center of the creative industry in Nigeria, there's no doubt about it. Look, 80% of all the creative juices that flow in Nigeria sort of emanates, is stewed in Lagos. Everything comes out from Lagos.
That's right.
And I think Lagos needs to remember that, it can move elsewhere. Creativity is very fluid. When there are roadblocks, it can move. And just to give an example, between the US and Canada, for example, a lot of the movies we see, you would think that were shot in the US. They may be Hollywood movies, but most of them were shot in Canada. Canada is giving them great incentives to move. And so people will move. Even in Hollywood, you have, in America, you have in Atlanta, which has become, like they call them, the Hollywood of the East now. A lot of the movies are being shot, Tyler Perry Studios is a huge center. So
that's right.
Creativity would move. And that's the thing about creativity. It will also be creative in protecting itself. So when it hits a roadblock, when states or governments begin to place roadblocks, it will find a way to swim around those roadblocks and find expressions elsewhere. So it's important that Lagos State and other states actually, instead of placing roadblocks, actually look for ways in which it can promote the industry. That's why I think it was this piece of regulation wasn't well thought out, because Lagos is in the forefront, I think, in promoting the arts. Lagos State has always been in the forefront of. It may not be the best, but better than most of the states that I've seen so far.
That's right.
And so it calls for engagement between the federal and the state. And I think that Mr. Adedayo, who heads the executive director of the National Film and Video Census Board, he's also a Lagos boy. Let's put it. He's a Lagos man. He knows the ground. I think he is also well placed to manage the. Forgetting about all the banter that you hear in the press, I think that Mr. Adedayo is an exceptional stakeholder. He's good at stakeholder management. I think he will manage this process or this issue very well.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Just thinking in my head, what happens? Or what would be the adverse effect? I know you've talked a little about that. If this levy on the creative sector is not stopped,
I think you're already beginning to see. There was a lot of pushback. Yeah. There's been a lot of pushback, and you see the Lagos State censorship person beginning to walk back. He's saying, "Oh, we need more. We need to engage." This is, I've seen some of the press releases that have come out in the last couple of days. Yeah. So there's a walk back. He's walking back from that position. I ultimately think that they are going to retract that.
Okay.
Because first of all, it doesn't make sense. That's one.
Okay.
Secondly, it's impossible to even effectively collect this levy. It's impossible to collect this levy in a way that will not create room for lots of litigation. Yeah, because you ask the question, what does the creative industry need? What the creative industry needs?
That's my next question.
Support in terms of how do you promote. In fact, I should think that Lagos State should be flying the flag across the whole of Africa, saying we are the center of creative industry in Africa, and this is why you should come to Lagos State to make your movies.
That's right.
Because we can support you in doing this, give you free tax breaks, give you security when you want to shoot, help you promote your movies. And I think that's what Lagos should do. My position has always been that if you can't, as a government, if you can't find ways in which you can support the industry, then at least you should not get in the way of the industry, because the industry will always find a way to develop itself. And we've seen it, how music has grown. The stars like Wizkid, Burna Boy, they didn't need any government help. They did this thing on their own, and they're global superstars.
That's right.
And they didn't need government. So imagine now government coming to say, come and give us levy to do this. That is going to cause problems, and they'll move away. So I think that, I would rather, it would be great, Lagos flying the flag and say, now Burna Boy is twice as tall, to say, he's a Lagosian. He's Lagos. Creativity lives in Lagos. That is the banner that they should be flying. That's how you promote the industry. Because once you promote the industry, then you're protecting the industry and you're respecting intellectual property rights. Those are the two things I think: promote the industry, respect intellectual property rights, and the industry will grow. And there'll be more tax paid to Lagos. Ultimately, people already cinemas are paying tax.
That's right.
And they are suffering. Cinemas in Lagos are suffering. There's no cinema. Nobody. The cinema operators who put millions and millions, billions of naira investment in new. Then they've been closed for almost 4 months now, and people depend on people whose jobs depend on that. And I think that these are the questions should be: how do we get cinemas and how do we get the industry to be more to open up as well in a safe way, but in a way that also gives hope for the future. I think those are the discussions that I don't know. I hope they're being had, but that ultimately is what I think that's how to begin the conversation, rather than saying levy. Come on, an industry that's already suffered. Hundreds of people have been out of work for how many months because of COVID, and then you're talking about levy. An industry just about to get back on its feet. Doesn't make sense.
Okay, great. Fantastic to hear from you. Let's bring the rest of Lagos in, because we're streaming live on Facebook, and people are watching on Facebook. You can join the conversation there by dropping your comments. Before we let you go, in a matter of minutes, by the way, we have Emeka Mba. He's speaking to us on the new proposed levy on creative content by the Lagos State agency there. But let's bring you in. You can call 0700 993 993 993 if you have a comment or a question. Please go straight to the point. All right, just keep it short and simple. We're taught to kiss it, so kiss the words and make it easy. All right, so we can get into the conversation. But I can see a comment here on Facebook. So I don't know why the government cannot create jobs. Rather, they're trying to frustrate someone group that tries to create one. It's annoying, please. Right, I can feel your frustration. Good work, Collins. Well done to Mr. Emeka Mba. Yes, he's listening to you. This is enlightening. I thought so too. Thank you again. Let's take this call and then get to wrap up the conversation here. I'll turn down the volume on your radio. Kill the volume dead. Hello, what's up, Lagos? Good morning to you.
What's up, Gregor? Good morning.
Good morning. Let's talk. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Eddie. I'm calling from Levy.
All right. Let's talk. You have a question or comment?
Yes. I mean, the government are not supposed to propose any kind of levy at this point. I mean, business are suffering. So what's the point? I work in a cinema in Lagos, and then I've been out of work since March, let me say so. So, I mean, what's the point? We're already suffering from the hardship coronavirus left behind. So, why the proposed levy again?
Have you survived? You've been out of work since March, man. I mean, I can't just imagine that. How have you survived?
Well, I never expected I would survive this, but I know I'm surviving.
Anyhow.
I'm doing other things just to help myself. But government bringing up another...
So it's for you, it's a no, right? It's a no for you.
It's a no for
me. All right.
Great.
So make sure you keep listening. The opportunities at the other side, the 11 would hope to talk to people like you and bring some opportunities your way. Hi, what's up, Lagos? Good morning. Hello. Ay. Très mal. Hey, what's up, Lagos? Good morning. No. Kill the volume dead. Like kill it dead. If you have to call me on the radio. Well, we have to let you go. Our time is fast spent. And, the COVID-19 has hit us hard, no doubt. We should have seen it coming because, like someone said, we had several months to put ourselves together before it got into our country and, of course, it started affecting us. But, hey, we didn't do that. So the creative industry right now is one of the hits. And recently the government put up a committee. What's your take on that? And what I haven't heard just yet what is going on as far as the committee was set to assess the impact of the COVID-19 on the creative sector. First of all, what's your opinion on the work so far and the committee itself? I'd like to know.
I think it was a good initiative by the Honourable Minister to set up the committee. I think the committee was headed by Ali Baba, someone who's also in the creative space and who's knowledgeable because of the industry. I always have my worry about my concerns when clearly this thing should work much faster. We know who's hurting.
Yeah.
We know who's hurting, in my view. We know the cinema operators are hurting,
Yeah.
number one. We know production companies are hurting.
That's right.
We know people who have an external facing jobs
Events.
or sector that's, we know events. So I think the question will have been, put aside a certain amount of money, reach a criteria. If you meet this criteria, you will be entitled to X amount of money. That for me will have been the easiest and fastest way to do, rather than having a talk shop that will last months. Like now, the committee has submitted this report. We haven't heard anything. So the quickest thing will have been, we have 10 billion naira, for example, for event managers, for filmmakers, for XYZ. If you meet this criteria, if you fill in this questionnaire and meet this criteria, you get X amount of money. It's that for me will have been the one way. Or the cinema operators. We know how many cinemas are there because they're licensed by government. And say, for example, each cinema operator, here is 100 million or 200 million, to cover your, so that for me will have been a much faster way to deal with it. But,
Wow.
people have, that's just for me. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Emeka Mba, the former DG of the National Film Video Censors Board and also former DG of the National Broadcasting Commission. It was really great talking to you, Sai, and thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Take
Okay,
care.
great, fantastic, guys. We promised, we delivered. And now we need to go on a short break. When we get back, it will be time for all of you to play the game and win something new. But again, I have the tech updates. Our daily tech update news is where you get to know what's happening in the tech space. I told you, if you're going to survive, you've got to be a techie. And I'll talk more about that after the break. My name is Collins. Teke.